Broadcasting to you live from the town of Waterdeep, somewhere in the forgotten realms of Southern California. It's the Hollywood Horror Nerds, your number one source for news, speculation, and discussion exclusively for Universal Studios Hollywood's FanFest nights. And now to your hosts, the roguish Undead Ed and Al, our elven wizard. All right, welcome everyone to our FanFest 2026 official debrief review episode, whatever you want to call it. We just attended last night, so we're recording this the Sunday after. We're going to try to keep this one a little shorter than our usual review so that you actually can go on with your day. And we're a little tired, so apologies if it's low energy, but we're going to try to keep it up. Al, how are you feeling?
I took an elixir. The elixir did not work all the way, so
from the local wizard Starbucks, I believe.
The great wizardry of Starbucks.
The alchemist.
The alchemist gave me supposedly their grade A potion. That grade A potion was not
a potion
not
of
there.
Restore stamina, I believe.
It was to wake the dead, and did not wake the dead within me.
No, the undead still slumber in their graves,
Yes.
but we are not slumbering in our graves because we went to FanFest last night. We've been talking about it for a long time. I mean, pretty much a year since the last one we speculated what's going to be, saw it all come together. Always really fun to follow these events and then actually go and see how much of what we imagined was true and how much was in our heads, and then what did they come up with that surprised us. So what we're going to do, in the interest of not just rambling into total nonsense all night like we usually do, we're going to keep things focused. We're going to talk about all of the experiences that we were able to do. Then I will talk briefly about the experiences that we unfortunately were not able to do. Then we're going to talk a little bit about just the event as a whole, probably. Let's do something different. Instead of doing our tier list, let's say the goods, the bads, and the ugly of the event at the end. That'll be fun. And then we're going to close. And then if we have more to say, we might save it for a follow-up, a second episode. So we're going to try to keep this to the brief. This is really for people, if you're a mega fan of the Hollywood Horror Nerds, you're going to listen anyways. If you are really trying to decide, should I go to FanFest? Maybe you thought, hey, I'm a little... maybe I liked last year, but these IPs aren't grabbing me. Or, hey, I didn't go last year, but I mentioned these IPs. If you really need the review to help you decide whether or not to go, there's still 3 weekends left. There's plenty of tickets left. This is for you.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan, and I like it. All right,
let's hit it. Let's hit it hard. So the first thing we did, regular listeners will know we always cosplay for FanFest, both years in a row, and also for Midsummer Scream. So this year we were Jurassic Park. I went as Dr. Alan Grant, who is Sam Neill's character in the movie. Al, who were you?
I was Jeff Goldblum's character.
You were in all black?
Yes.
I was a little more fortunate because my character had a hat on and it rained a little, so that protected my my poor delicate face from the water. But anyway, so the first thing we did was...
You forget, not only did it rain, it was very cold.
It was cold, and my character canonically wears a jacket for a small part of the movie, so I was covered there as well.
My character also wears a jacket, a leather jacket. Yes, unfortunately, I did not have the leather jacket, and
not in the right color.
I was at least glad that I had the sweater that I was wearing, because I was about to. I was so ready to walk out the house without anything, without a sweater.
It was chilly,
and I was very glad.
From my hotel room, you were picking me up, and I came to your car, and I opened the door, and I glanced out the parking lot. I said, "I'm going to run up to the room and grab my jacket." I'm really glad I did.
Yes.
So, anyways, of course, the first thing we did then, we walked in and we went straight to Jurassic World, a journey through eras, or as it is known to the Parkies, Jurassic World, the Eras Tour.
Yes. It was the Jurassic Eras.
For the Swifties out there. And this was interesting. It was interesting what to start with. I'm glad we did it first, because the first thing you do is usually going to be the least crowded. and this was a fan zone. So we weren't really sure what to expect, even though we had seen video of it operating during the day. It was a total kind of a new idea. There was a fan zone last year for just the One Piece characters, but this seemed like an upgraded version. And
Yes.
I was actually very impressed with for what this was, particularly knowing this was kind of a last minute thing they threw together when they lost something else as a fill-in, and they dealt with some interesting legal issues, I think, where they couldn't advertise this as part of FanFest outside the park. It was only advertised within the park and by influencers. Taking all that into account, I thought this was actually a very strong showing. There was a good number of different big dinosaur sculptures or animatronics, whatever you want to call them. I think there were at least 5 different ones. Like there were 2 velociraptors, a brachiosaurus, spinosaurus, T-Rex. And I was
Yes.
There's a good variety, and they were big. I mean, they were impressive sculptures. Some of them I recognized from the studio tour. I think maybe that brachiosaurus head was from the old Jurassic Park the ride. Maybe I'm not sure where it was from. I don't know where the big T-Rex was from, but it was big. It was like a life-sized T-Rex. The fact this was at night, they did a great job with the lighting. There was some smoke machine going on, give it kind of a Horror Nights vibe. And there was a really fun raptor encounter show, and it was based, I think, on the raptor encounter that they did. They used to do it during daytime operations. I don't know if they still do it or not, but instead of just one raptor breaking containment, there were 2, kind of a very mini stunt show, but with really impressive raptor puppets as a core element. So my takeaways were all positive. Al, what did you think of the zone?
I like the zone. There were some of the characters walking around as well. We saw Hamish, we saw Ian, but we didn't get to talk to anyone besides Hamish because I was like,
Hammond.
"Let's Hamish, sorry,
Hammond. I was wondering who's
Hammett,
Hamish. I was trying to figure it out.
Hammett."
Yeah. I will say
Uh,
just up front as we go through these, meet and greets are a big part of the FanFest DNA. But I really look, I enjoy the costumes, I enjoy the set. I do not have the LARP gene in me unless I've consumed copious amounts of alcohol. The only time I've ever successfully LARPed was when I was at the Dickens Fair in San Francisco after Thanksgiving, and they had an absinthe bar, and I had a generous portion of absinthe. And after that, I was flying, and I was a great LARPer for about an hour or 2. But the drinks at City Walk and Universal Studios are not that strong, and I'm not able to get in the LARP mindset. So we're going to talk about the meet and greets, but just keep in mind, if you're a meet and greeter, it might be important to you if you like kind of that LARP. Because when I see a guy in a costume, I want to talk to him about the costume. I'm more interested in the guy wearing it than the character. But they have Hammond, like you said, they had Ian Malcolm, they have Benedict Wu's Dr. Wu,
yes,
Benedict
Doctor
Wong's
Wu.
character, and they had a just a guy walking around with a very well. He had like a dinosaur puppet, kind of like the Harry Potter guys last year. Had a magical creatures. He had a dinosaur, so you had a nice variety of really well done meeting. Oh, and Dennis Nedry, who has never appeared
Oh
in
yes,
meet and greet form before, making his debut. So if you're into meet and greets, it's kind of a cool, not obscure, but not something that's usually featured. Usually Jurassic Park isn't thought of as a meet and greet kind of thing. So if you're into that, it was a big plus.
yeah. They were on their way to the raptor encounter. You had wanted to stop to talk to them. I said the raptor encounter is about to start. I will prioritize the raptor encounter.
Yeah, the Raptor Encounter show was very cool. I would definitely watch it in person because you get more out of it, I think, seeing the puppets. I appreciated there's 2 raptors who break containment. One of them looks like Blue from Jurassic World, and one of them looks like the classic raptors from the original Jurassic Park. So it was kind of, it's a journey through eras. So it was a bridge between the classic Jurassic Park and the new Jurassic World. And as maybe the only person who likes both sets of those movies, I appreciated that. That was cool.
Yeah, we definitely were able to see uh set pieces from all the different movies. Especially, I like that at one point they played the cell phone ringtone. That is very
They did. When you're hanging out by the Spinosaurus, if you hang out there long enough, you hear the do 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 from Jurassic Park 3, which is the ringtone because he eats someone with the phone, and then later they find his droppings and they hear the ringtone and they have to go grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a
My
lot of
my
little
character.
nods to the old movies was made it fun. I mean, I walked away from this thinking I would love to see zones like this at Horror Nights. We've talked so much on the Horror Nights reviews of how the scare zones have been lacking. So this was the opposite of that. This was a zone where you wanted to spend time, great photo ops, great character interaction, not really scare zones weren't scares, but they weren't supposed to be. I would love to see Horror Nights take a page from the Fan Zone book and do scare zones more in this style.
Yeah. Maybe talk to Art.
So I mean, this for me gets an unapologetic thumb fully up,
You mean Claw?
100% raised, claw up, claw all the way
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
What
No,
about
it
you?
was
You got your claw up for this one?
I got my claw, my internal claw.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
for
I
what this
definitely enjoyed the
was,
raptor encounter.
I really don't see what they could have done for Jurassic Park Zone that I felt, wow, this was really missing. I mean, you could have had different characters, but the characters they had were good. I mean, it's a thumbs up. I think they really nailed it for this, and it's really great for. I mean, even knowing it came together last minute feels more impressive. But I'm not going to grade it on a curve because of that. I think it just as what it was, great, home run in the fan zone for Jurassic Park. Very pleased
I
with it.
I think the only way they could have made it slightly better was if the, dinosaur, sculptures, instead of being sculptures, they were a little bit more the animatronics so they could move.
Animatronics.
Yeah.
That I'll
That would
forgive
be
them because I think that would really blow their budget. I think that's an expensive animatronic. If you
yeah,
want to
but I'm
see
sure they
moving dinosaurs, you got to go get wet on the proper ride.
yeah. Fool me once, shame on you. You are not gonna get me on that ride again.
Well, it was too cold. If it's warm at Horror Nights, I'll try again.
Alright. From
The
there
next
we
thing that
went
moving on, staying on the lower lot, the next thing we went to check out was Super Nintendo World, and we're not meet and greets, and there were lines we didn't know where to wait in, but we saw each color of Yoshi. So last year we didn't get to see the Yoshi at all. This year I saw blue Yoshi, I saw pink Yoshi, I saw purple Yoshi. Al, what did you think of the Yoshi parade?
I did not see Green Yoshi.
We didn't see. You
I
have to
was very
complete a puzzle to meet Green Yoshi, which we did not do.
oh, well.
'Cause I
I
saw
do
the
like
Yoshis, and I was like, I don't need to see the green one. He's such a glory hound. I've got my Yoshi fill.
No, it was very it was not packed, but was heavily visited, the zone.
I think
It
that's
was
fair. It didn't feel overly crowded. I remember last year, just to get into Nintendo World, there was a big line at the Warp Pipe. And
yeah,
this year you could walk right in, which was nice. I mean, it's a really good immersive world. I mean, it's a small footprint, but they do a lot with it. And I liked that. I think if you're going and you're excited to meet the Yoshis, it's easy for you to do that this year. If you want to engage a little more and do the kind of adventure and meet Green Yoshi as well, they have a little bit more you can do as a more casual Nintendo fan. Don't have the super band to do the games in the land. It was cool to see the characters out there just added a little more life to the land. And none of the lines, because there were three of them, no individual line was that long. So if you just want to meet a Yoshi, that wasn't hard to do, which is
yeah,
a process as we'll talk about as we get along. That's not true for every meet and greet that was going on.
yeah, and then, we actually, got to ride the ride this year, again,
We did,
because we
but
actually got to go in.
we did, but that's not part of FanFest. We're trying to keep this a short review. So
Yeah, yeah. It's true, true,
it's
true.
still the Mario Kart ride. It hasn't
Yeah.
changed.
Yes, same idea.
Yeah. So I would say the Yoshi encounter. I'm again. I'm gonna give it like an 80% thumbs up, just because it's just a meet and greet. There's not really more to it. There is kind of the game section, but that's tricky to get into. I think if you just want to meet Yoshi, you'll be happy. Again, we talked about this before, and I don't know if this is fair to grade them on or not, but I guess I'm gonna knock a little bit. We talked beforehand, we wanted to see a character that we hadn't seen, like a Rosalina or a Wario would have been cool.
A
There's a
Bowser would have been
Bowser
amazing.
would have been I mean, Bowser's tough, but that would have been really cool to bring out, like, a whole new mold. Feels like it could have done Princess Daisy, Princess Rosalina as just you don't even really need a mask, just find someone who looked like Daisy and put her in there.
Or
And Rosalina's
Rosalina.
movie just came out. It was like a slam dunk, and yeah, we
Yeah.
just got more Yoshis. So I would have liked to see a little more ambition. But for what it was, if you want to go meet the colored Yoshis, you'll be satisfied. So I'm gonna give it like a 70% up thumb. It's on its way up.
How many eggs out of 10?
I would give it 7.5 eggs because it's good, but I kind of make a note on the paper like you can do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Room for improvement.
There's room for improvement.
Yeah.
But again, not I wouldn't say bad. And again, it's not bad. And I think if you're excited for this, you might be mad there's no red Yoshi. Totally skipped. I feel your pain. But the Yoshis they had were good. They did a good job.
Yeah,
So
they did
the
their job.
next thing, really the last thing for FanFest we got to do on the lower lot was the returning Dungeons and Dragons Secrets of Waterdeep. Don't know why it's called that. It's not really about a secrets. It's just a quest. It's kind of laid out for you at the start, which was a returning attraction. And it was very similar to last year. I felt it was a little bit more interactive, but that might just be my memory playing tricks. There were a few moments. It felt like the characters were talking directly to particular guests at moments, where last year it was more just watching a show. There's also a segment in the puzzle room where we all had to stand in certain places that I don't remember that from last year. Um, and it felt like the actors were looser. It felt a little more improv-y than last year's had as well, which I enjoyed. The actors I thought were the highlight. They did a really good job. I'd already seen all the effects, so it didn't really land the same because I was expecting them. The puppet at the end still looks really good. Overall, I enjoy it, but again, it is a repeat. I'd say if you haven't done it before, if you didn't go to FanFest last year, this is definitely highly recommend that you check it out. If you have gone last year, I think we'll get to towards the end. We'll talk about you might have some time constraints this year. This might be one that you just save to do at the end if you have time. There wasn't enough new to really justify if you're pressed for time, taking time out of your day to do this, even though it was still a good experience.
Yeah, I definitely felt like it was 90% the same as last year.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, the only difference is, yeah, like what you said was that we had to stand in the light at one point. But overall, I was like, yeah, if you came last year, it's if you
Did you
squint,
think
it's
the
basically the same. If you
did you
squint, it's
think the
basically the same.
performances were did you feel like they were looser than last year's, like a little more improv, a little more fun?
The I did notice the one thing I noticed was that last year they were 100% on the stage, and
Yeah.
this year they started off stage, moved to the stage. So they walked around more than last year.
I don't remember if this was I don't remember. It might be because I was in a different section, but in the very first room when your two adventurers who lead you through the mission come in, they just walk in and they're in the middle of your group. I don't remember that from last year. That suddenly I turned around, the girl was right there behind me, which was kind of cool.
Oh, that's because you didn't notice her come out.
Maybe I just didn't notice. But you were very close up, and I did feel like it felt like overall they were trying to make all of these attractions more interactive to varying degrees, and maybe that was just the actors more willing to talk to the guest rather than just performing their script. Maybe it means you just wave your hand around and say something. Sometimes it means you're actually trying to do little puzzles. But it did feel like overall the theme of the year, what they were going for was let's get the guests not just walking through, but actually engaging with
Oh, yeah.
whatever the material was. I felt that at every attraction that we did.
Yeah, last year was a lot of, what's the right phrase? It's, cattle, prodding? No.
No, that's the right phrase.
It is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They're prodding you along. It was you go in a room, you watch a scene happen, you go to the next room, you watch a scene happen. This
Yeah.
year it was you go into this room and a scene's going on and they try to bring you into they're talking to you or they ask you to do something. You do something. It's not really impactful. You're not going to go punch a guy,
It was
but
audience
you wiggle your
interaction
arm
to
to do
some
a
degree.
spell or you make a sneaky motion because you're a sneaky guy or you say the magic word, or little things like that, but it does bring you more into it. And I think if you are going for the LARP experience, you want to be the live action role player, you can really let yourself go if you have that gene, or if you're able to get drunk on universal drinks and really let yourself go, I think you'll get even more out of it than we did as someone who does not really have the LARP gene. And unfortunately, despite my efforts, was pretty sober at this point. I still enjoyed it. I still did enjoy getting brought more, even if it wasn't me getting spoken to, seeing other people. It was fun to kind of live vicariously.
Yeah, it was definitely much more interactive with the guests. The guests definitely interacted more with the scenes. Um, Overall, I still felt like it ended quickly, even though
Yeah, I
it
feel
takes a
like
while, but it
I
still
would have
ends
liked
kind of
to see
quickly.
more of Lorelei Storm Shadow, whatever. I think she made really interesting points, and we really should have heard her out about the dragon cult. That's all I'm going to
Yeah,
say.
I don't think it's see the word cult is such a strong word. I think
Yeah,
we
it's a religion. You know, you
yes,
shouldn't
the
discriminate
dragon
against a
religion,
religion like they
and I
did.
believe that the dragon religion deserves to have federal funding.
Yeah, I I will just say again to reiterate, I would say if I'm going to grade this one, I feel like I can't go lower than I went for the Yoshi, so I'm going to give it a 75%. I'm going to give it a C again.
Roll, what did
And
you
the
roll
note,
for?
but the note on this paper isn't, I expect more. It's that this is the last time I'm going to let you turn this assignment in and get away with it.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
enjoyed it the second time. If they bring it back for a third time, for me, it will be just a skip.
It's
It's
gonna be
not,
diminishing returns at that point.
or if you're going to bring it back, it needs to wait a few years. Like at Horror Nights, they do, but they should never bring a maze back like back to back years. You got to let it rest for a while, and then I'll be willing to try it again. But again, if you haven't done this, I would again highly recommend it. It is a good walkthrough experience. I do recommend it if it's fresh. If you went last year again, uh, I would let the rest of your day play out, and maybe if you have time to do this at the end for the repeat, then do it. I
Yeah,
think it would also be a
but
good finisher to the night, so I think it would work better. It's funny because you walk in on the signs, they wanna divert people away from the most crowded attraction at the start of the night. So if you look at the wait time board underneath Dungeons& and Dragons, it says, "Dungeons& and Dragons Waterdeep is a great way to start your night," which isn't really true. I think it would be a great way to end your night, so maybe look at it that way.
yeah, I think they say that it's just to get you away from the main ones of like Harry Potter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of, where are you at grade-wise before I move you along for this? If you're
I think it was alright. I give it a solid C just because no, well, no, I'll give it a B minus.
I would say on our grade system for this, a C is not bad. A C is like average.
Yeah.
Not like when you were in high school and a C meant your parents are gonna whip you when you got home for having a bad grade.
No, yeah, but it's like a B minus. It's good.
It's good, but we've seen
Yeah.
it before.
Yeah, you've seen it before.
Yeah.
And
All right. So
that's
speaking of the main events, let's talk about one of the most anticipated things this year, and probably the thing we saw the most cosplay for, which surprised me. Scooby-Doo meets Universal Monsters on the backlot.
yes. So
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? He's on the Universal backlot in Little Europe, home of the Universal Monsters. And this was one that I really didn't know what to expect going in because we had done Back to the Future last year. And we've been asking a lot of questions about this. If you've been following along, we've been asking, is it going to be another show? How will they deal with some of the crowd problems we had last year? How are they going to deal with telling an original story instead of just one that you kind of know, so you can only watch snips and it's okay? How are they going to deal with the space of Little Europe being very different from the open space of the courthouse? Um, a lot of questions. I really wasn't sure what it was going to be. And I will say what they did surprised me. It wasn't something that I had anticipated. And I liked that. What did you think going in? I mean, what was your expectation for this?
I was very surprised just because I was considering like how are they gonna play Scooby? and um
um,
and just overall like what are we to expect and how is it gonna play out? And I was very surprised. I was like, oh,
so
it's an
I will
interactive
say
experience.
It was very interactive.
Yeah.
And I think that was a smart way to go, where instead of it being essentially a living theater happening around you, where a show scene will break out at any moment in the Little Europe area, instead it was kind of each member of the Scooby gang, other than Scooby, who was just a photo op, has a little area set up, and in that general area is a different little puzzle you have to solve. And they weren't total snoozers. We did an escape room actually earlier in the day at City Walk. So I was kind of in an escape room mindset, which I think helped us nail these puzzles. I would say they're not hard, but they're not total snoozers either. I think they actually really nailed the correct difficulty to where you feel like you're using your brain, but also it wasn't so hard that I think anyone who does this will be able to get it if you engage with it, which is the
Uh,
exact perfect difficulty to nail. So I was quite impressed that they nailed that on their first try.
I don't know what you're talking about easy, considering that I overheard several different people when we were doing this say, "I give up. I'm just gonna go find out what the mystery is."
That's true. Maybe I think if you have escape room experience, it would help because it was definitely these felt like escape room puzzles to me. I think they were very inspired by.
Yeah.
They weren't as hard. We did a Batman escape room at City Walk earlier in the day, and I think that was harder than the Scooby puzzles. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
we had already started jostling our brain, and so
Yeah, we
this
were
was like,
warned.
"Okay,
We were
okay,
and we
I
were
guess."
smart, we were on because they give you also is cool, they give you a little pamphlet, before you get on the tram, and the pamphlet connects to the case where you see the 4 suspects and you get their biographies, and that's actually useful because you understand based on certain clues you find in the attraction, you then use the biography to understand, "Oh, this clue eliminates this person because of something in their profile I have here." So that was really cool,
Yeah.
and it gives you instructions for each of the 4 puzzles to solve. So I think if you're not reading the instructions, you're just trying to just hit it, it would get confusing, and I could see you getting frustrated. If you don't have experience with escape rooms, I have also see this being a little overwhelming because it's a crowded environment, which I think we'll talk about the crowds in a second. I wanna get through the goods first before I talk about the bads.
Yeah.
There's a little more to talk with about this Scooby experience and the other ones.
Yeah,
Um,
overall, it was a great experience to, have the
I
mystery of what you're solving.
yeah,
The clues weren't greatly difficult, and
I was really pleased with the
yeah,
puzzles.
it was a good
I thought
it
just
made
the
time pass
decision
faster.
The decision to go to a more interactive format and incorporate mystery solving, I think was so brilliant. I think, and I've said this to a few people since we've done it, that if you were someone who went to Back to the Future enough that you could get a perfect golden run where you see every show scene, you interact with a few characters, and you dance at the end, and then you see the finale, so you get the whole run of the show. I think probably that's still the superior experience, but I think the people who were able to get that experience were a very small group of people. I think the more common experience with that attraction last year, the one that we had, that other people I talked to who went had, was you get lucky and you see the intro. It's hard, easy to see the intro, easy to see the finale, but along the way, you get probably one character interaction and you're lucky enough to see one show scene just because the crowd management was very difficult. It was difficult to know when these scenes would happen. If you weren't there early, you missed it because you were too far back to hear what the actors were saying. Uh, it was still a good experience. I still liked the Back to the Future, but I think for the average tourist, this Scooby experience that was a little more self-driven was the better experience for the
Definitely.
average tourist, for an average run.
Especially the fact that the characters' locations were stationary
Right.
versus them moving around. The
So if
ones
you
that were
really
moving around were the monsters.
And I'll say for the Scooby characters, before I talk about the monsters, the Scooby characters, when we went, and it was pretty crowded when we were there, but it was very easy to talk to Freddy or Fred. It was very easy to talk to Shaggy. When we were there, Velma was having a little show scene with the Bride of Frankenstein, which was cute, where she's kind of, the Bride of Frankenstein walks in her booth and she has to kind of teach the Bride of Frankenstein how to speak and be polite and send her on her way. It was cute. So there were a lot of people watching that, so it was very crowded. And the Daphne booth, for obvious reasons, was also packed because everyone wanted to talk to Daphne. You can guess why. Um, but it was easier, I think, to talk to most of the Scooby Gang than it was to talk to the Back to the Future's characters last year. Scooby was also there, but only as a photo op right up front. After all our speculation of how they would do Scooby-Doo, will it be a real dog? Will it be a robot dog? It was just a guy in the suit like this during the daytime. But for what the experience was, I that didn't really diminish it for me.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, when we had thought it would be more of a interactive theater, I think that wouldn't have worked. But for just having him as the photo op and then at the finale show, I think it worked fine. I also did the monsters are the ones who roam. So that was also cool to kind of turn around and you see the Wolfman right there. We saw a pretty neat mini scene where the Wolfman emerges and he's transforming, and then he has a little monster mash, a little battle with Dracula. That was pretty cool. We saw Frankenstein was a highlight. A lot of people were enjoying Frankenstein. He was very much the universal Frankenstein where he's um very dim-witted but gentle until the Phantom Director takes over, and then he gets, like, nasty, like,
Actually, take
rampaging Frankenstein.
yeah.
So very cool to see. I didn't see the creature from the Black Lagoon. I think he's only visible, through some windows. I've seen videos. He's not a full walk-around character. And the Invisible Man is there, but only for VIP, which is a shame. But I understand they do this for Horror Nights too. There's the exclusive VIP stuff, so that's their carrot for
I
them.
thought you were gonna say the Invisible Man is only there if you believe.
Well, you can see the Invisible Man. You can only go talk to him and see him in costume if you're a VIP guest.
Yeah. No,
So
definitely.
overall, I mean, it's really good ideas in here. I liked the execution for the most part was good. The characters were good. The actors, and really across the board, I felt the actors for all these meet and greet LARPy characters were great for every experience, and this was no exception. For this one, I think there was more good than bad, but unfortunately, I think this is where my good is going to end. Do you have anything else from this Scooby experience that really stood out to you that was good that you think we haven't hit upon yet?
No, definitely, I think you've hit everything. The gang was great. The characters were fun. The interactions of the characters with each other was fun. It was fun to watch. And the idea of this mystery, it was a good mystery. It was a good villain.
Yeah. I would say also the theme of interactivity carried through to the meet and greet interactions. I saw one of the guests, just a girl who was just a guest of the theme park. She got like Daphne like took her into because Daphne was wearing the wardrobe department, so Daphne took her into her booth and was giving her different clothes to try on, which was really fun. You can imagine for her that's a really cool experience. We didn't get to do that because we kind of just bounced for the mystery. We did the mystery part. We went to the next booth. I mean, the Shaggy and the monsters were extremely interactive, where Frankenstein would come up to someone and take their hat off and take a look at the hat and give it back, and Dracula would come up behind someone and give them a tiny little scare. So the interactivity was also very high, which was good.
I will say that the Frankenstein character was short because
Yeah,
he
he
was
had big
wearing
lips on.
lifts, and I
You were
was
a little
not.
offended
Yeah,
as a
so
tall man yourself.
yeah, I was like, "Wow. Wow, you couldn't get someone tall, you had to get someone who uses these
Yeah.
lifts? Wow."
Um, so there's more good than bad, but unfortunately, there is bad that I feel we have to talk about to give a full picture of this experience. So once you have solved the mystery, you then go to the big reveal show, which is a short. It's a fun show. It carries on. It just shows the Scooby Gang, apprehending the Phantom Director who's the one causing all this chaos on the back lot, and they unmask them, and you get to learn: did I solve the mystery correctly or did I not? And then they blame the meddling kids and all those stinking theme park guests as well, which was funny. So the show itself was fine. Not amazing, but for what it was fine. I really appreciated there was a girl next to us who was dressed as Fred. She had the white shirt and the orange ascot, and at the end of the show, Fred noticed that, and he went up to he like pointed at her, they pointed at him, and gave a little nod, and she really enjoyed that. So the interactivity again was just all over the event. It was cool to see. Um, but even though the show itself was fine, not amazing, it was fine. Cool to see the reveal. The process at this point, the operations of this event, this is where it really started to break down, where you couldn't just walk to the show. It was you had to get in the line. And we had the express pass because we wanted to do everything. So we thought we don't really have time to wait in lines. We're going to pay for express like we do at Horror Nights to get past these lines. There was no express line for this. You're just in the
No.
line with everyone, and it doesn't move quickly. I mean, I would say we were in this line for 10 to 20 minutes, easily, if not more. Um,
Yeah, it was the majority of our time at the park was in this one specific line.
well, no, that the line to watch the show wasn't kind, but it wasn't awful. What was awful was once you were done with the show, you were immediately put into another line to get back on the tram. And that line was incredibly slow and just took forever to get. I mean, that was probably a 30 to 40-minute line.
Well, that was because so you had two options when you were done. You could either go to the reveal and get in line for that, or get in line to go to the trams.
Right.
What we didn't realize was that once you finish watching the reveal, the original line to go to the trams and your line merged.
It was
That's why it took
essentially,
forever.
yeah, there was a merge line. And it wasn't like Horror Nights, where Horror Nights, I have never seen that at Horror Nights. Even when we went with general admission, just it was never a problem getting back on the tram. You would wait at most 5 minutes because there were always trams coming to take people away. Just a constant conga line of trams. Here they would pull in about maybe 4 to 5 trams at once pulled in. They would load them. They would send them. And it wasn't a consistent stream of trams. I think there were just fewer trams running. So it moved extremely slowly. And when you are only at this event for it's a shorter event than Horror Nights, and a lot of these waits, we didn't have to wait all night because we had Express, but you're very aware of my time is just ticking away. It's not just that I'm annoyed that I'm not doing them in line, it's that I'm the opportunity cost of this feels immense. And at the
Well,
end of it, I would say we're probably in line down at the backlot as much as we were solving the mystery,
no,
which is not a great
more.
ratio.
No, we from the moment we got in the line to watch the reveal to the moment we got off the tram, I think almost an hour passed.
Yeah. And if you are not expressed, you're probably waiting an hour to get down there as well. So it could overall be almost like a 3-hour excursion for you, which is a really significant chunk of time for an event that's this short. And
Mind
it's one
you,
thing for the loading at the beginning, but I can't excuse it at the end because Horror Nights does not have this problem. I assume it's just that they did not have the budget to run as many trams as Horror Nights does. So there were just fewer trams operating. But that
yeah,
is unfortunate, and it for an event that it's frustrating because the actual experience itself I thought was very, very good. Very good, but it ends on such a sour note of just in this nondescript line to get out, and exasperating the problem, we were hungry. I was very hungry. You and
yeah.
our other friend were moderately hungry, but I was very hungry at this point. And I thought, well, it won't be that bad because I can go down there and get a Scooby snack because those look kind of fun. The Scooby sandwich, which is like a quadruple decker sandwich, like the kind Shaggy makes on the show, looked absolutely rancid. It comes in a
Revolting.
plastic bag. It looks like it's been in that plastic bag for about a week. The best comment on the sandwich I saw posted online, someone said, in the show, Shaggy assembles these sandwiches using whatever is left in the kitchen of an abandoned hotel or abandoned theme park, and they're just staying canonically accurate to that idea because that's it looks like it's made from 3-month-old ingredients.
Nice.
So the sandwich was non-viable. The Scooby snacks are just prepackaged cookies, so I thought that can't be that bad. I'll tack on sweet caps. But that line, just looking at that line visually, looking at how long it was and how fast it was moving, that was easily 20 to 30-minute line. And I was like,
I
there's
didn't
no
know
way I'm waiting on that
Express.
as well. So that was just a total non-starter. So we're hungry. And I mean, if you're going to have a big line like that, there should have been some guy coming along like at a ball game selling Scooby snacks, but that did not exist.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a brutal end to what was a good experience. So it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, which is unfortunate because it feels like it didn't have to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
So
And
all
then
that said, um, I mean, how do you grade something that the actual attraction is great, but the operations surrounding it are poor? I'm not sure. I'm just going to throw out like an 80%, like a B, like a solid B.
I would say a C plus.
Oh, I want to go that hard. That seems harsh. You
Well,
gave
some
Dungeons and Dragons a B minus.
well, that's because we didn't have to spend so much time in the line.
There were no. I mean, we
There was
kind of
no
did
line to
for
leave.
Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, we'll talk about more ups, but Dungeons and Dragons, even once you're at the front of the line, it's about 20 more minutes before you get in.
Yeah. No, there was no line to leave. Like, once we were
Yeah.
done, we were done.
All right. Well, I find your score too harsh, but it's your score to give, so I can't stop
Okay.
you.
All right, next one.
Let's talk about the next attraction, which was the next one that we did was exclusive for FanFest nights was the Hippogriff.
Hippogriff.
What was it called? Forbidden Forest: Search for the Hippogriff in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And this is probably consistently the longest line of the night. We did it fairly late. We did it between, I think, 11 and midnight, if not later. And at that point, it was a 70-minute wait. I know earlier, because I saw people posting about it earlier in the evening, it went up to 2.5 hours, which is insane.
Jeez.
With Express, this one, we did just cut straight to the front of the line. There was no secondary lines.
No, there was a secondary line. They
Very,
merged
very,
in the
very,
front.
very short. Very short.
It was still, but it was still a secondary line.
And I was pleased with this overall. There's a few interesting things about it. It was outdoors, which was cool, but not on the backlot. I don't know if they've ever done that at Horror Nights, not since we've been going, at least. The only outdoor at Horror Nights has always been just the backlot sets. It was cool to be in a different area that I had never seen of the theme park before. I thought we'd seen everything, but apparently not. I'm not a Harry Potter mega fan, but I thought it was a good immersion into that world. It carried on the interactivity where there were a lot of moments where you would raise whatever you had to be your wand and wave it around and say the magic words to cast a specific spell, and then a special effect would happen. The character who's a Hogwarts professor taking on this journey to find Hippogriff that's stranded in the Forbidden Forest. He did a good job, I think. He talked to you specifically because there was a specific poem from the novels that you almost knew. You knew about half of it.
I knew what the answer was. I just didn't know what the poem was. That makes
but
sense.
someone
Like,
else in our group
yeah,
did.
like I knew what the answer was. I was like, oh, they don't like light, but I didn't
And
know
I imagine if
the
you
phrasing.
show up, in a full Potter cosplay, I think you probably get even more interaction out of this. So it carried on that interactivity, which I really liked.
So
You could tell, at
what
least
you
I could
didn't
tell.
realize. I don't know. You watched the movies. This character was specifically looked like Professor Slughorn. For anyone
Well,
who
do you
knows
think it was
that.
intentional?
Yeah,
Okay,
he
that's
looked
cool.
like the professor from Order of the Phoenix, Professor Slughorn.
What does Slughorn teach?
Defense against potions.
Okay, you're almost like, ooh, defense of the dark arts never ends well.
No, potions. He was potions.
I know that much. I did think that based on what I have seen online before we did this and after, we got kind of a truncated version of this. I think because the line got so crazy, they said we're going to go to a B mode that is shorter. And you can also feel that as we were going through that, you were kind of being rushed through. The pacing felt too fast for all these show scenes. That said, I still thought it was good. You do see the effects weren't amazing other than the Hippogriff. I don't think there's a spoiler to the Hippogriff at the end because the whole thing is the search for the Hippogriff. And I will say the Hippogriff puppet at the end is a wow. It's a great puppet. The way it is, I don't want to say shot, but it kind of feels like a movie. So the way it's presented to you with the lighting and the angle it makes it look even more impressive. There's at least one magical creature in this that I also thought that the costuming was very impressive. I did remember it from the books. It was a little bit of a deeper cut, but it was cool to see. There were scenes that I know were more interactive in, I guess, A mode. That's a longer that they had cut out and just the professor just did it, which was a little disappointing to see. But overall, I still thought it was good. I would give it also probably the same as Scooby, because I thought the Scooby experience was stronger. This one didn't have the same operational problems other than if you are going general. This is a tremendous wait. And I think if you are in general and you get the truncated, trimmed down faster experience, I would be mad. I would say I would rather have waited another 20, 30 minutes, but got in the full experience that I'm waiting for. as someone who waited 5 minutes for this, I wasn't that offended because I didn't invest that much into it. I mean, you're the bigger Potterhead of the two of us. What did you feel about this one?
It was nice. It was like Professor Slughorn, you're one of the students that he's taking to find this hippogriff, and
I
it
liked
could
it.
have
It
been
was a
better. He
very
just he felt so anxious throughout the entire
well, he
show,
was because they
and
were
I was like, "Is
really
this part
trying
of?"
to make you rush through it. You
Yeah, I
could
was like,
tell.
"No," but I was like, "Is this part of the show, or is this like them trying to rush us out?"
Yeah, I think it was them trying to rush you out to get the next group in because
Yeah,
the wait was tremendous. I did like the story itself. You're going through the Forbidden Forest to find a hippogriff. It felt very almost like a cottagecore, very just nice. It's not
yeah.
the dark wizards are attacking. There's no Voldemort. There's no Dementors. You encounter some magical creatures, but they're not like really nasty ones. I kind of like that. It was different from what we get at a Horror Nights or even in the Harry Potter Forbidden Journey attraction.
No, definitely. It was a nice change of pace for the Harry Potter land. Um, I did enjoy the interaction of the guest in this. It was definitely nicer because quote unquote like you do spells
Yeah. I mean,
and
compared to the one this one is replacing would be Star Trek.
yes,
Which last year, it was really, walk into room, watch scene, walk into a room, watch scene, walk
yes,
into a
you felt
last
like
room,
cattle.
watch scene, you're out. And this one they did, even in the rush mode that we were doing, they did stop and we all would cast the spell together. It was bringing you into the story more. And
Mhm.
you got at the beginning, he asked you what your house is, so you get to cheer for your house, and it was cute.
Yeah, I didn't hear you cheer your
You do feel
house.
more involved.
I didn't hear you cheer for your house. That was very rude.
I cheered for it because Hufflepuffs are chill, so it was just a little huzzah.
Uh, rude.
That's such a Slytherin thing to say.
I am not Slytherin. You know what
Are
the
you
difference
sure? I
between?
think you should get it tested again.
No, I did
I
it
think
twice. I
I
got
think you've
Ravenclaw twice.
changed. You've changed.
Anyways, overall,
Did it satisfy your Potter headness? Did you feel like you got a full Harry did it feel like Harry Potter and not just generic fantasy to you?
I loved Harry Potter. You don't understand. I loved Harry Potter growing up. Um, the the attractionness of it has diminished as the older I've gotten, and now I'm at a stage where I'm like, I appreciate Potter,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
it is a children's book, but
Exactly. I mean, and
but
we
I mean, we also experienced a role-playing game and a cartoon from the '60s, so I don't think I don't think we can knock it too much for that.
no, no, no. But I'm saying like coming from loving this show as a child, this universe as a child, to like seeing it now as an adult, like you get like a nice appreciation. Like, oh wow, I would have really loved this if I was younger.
Hmm,
Like, like if I was a kid, there was a kid in our thing in our cohort,
there
and
was.
he looked to be like very like ooh.
Oh, he was very engaged, yeah, very
Yeah, yeah.
magical.
So like from us as an adult perspective to like versus a child's perspective, this would have been more, from a child's point of view, much better.
At the risk of introducing a small sidebar conversation, I remarked this to you at some point that there were more children at Horror Nights than at FanFest, which feels wrong because I think a lot of this was quite child friendly, and I think a child would really enjoy. I mean, Scooby is a kid's cartoon. The puzzles I think actually might be a little too hard for children, but I think with an adult to help them, they could have figured it out. I think you nailed. I think the Potter experience. You were a kid on that, they would lose their minds. It would be really fantastic. Dungeons and Dragons still. I think some of the magical effects would be more magical for a kid. They would
Yeah,
love the
definitely.
dinosaurs. Kids, look, uh,
Like FanFest,
any kid
if I
any
experienced
little
FanFest as a
boy
kid,
loves dinosaurs, and there were some great
yeah.
dinosaurs.
Yeah, like FanFest, like having if you experienced FanFest as a child, your mind would have been blown. Like it would
I
be
was actually worried
amazing.
going into this that we would be the only adults and we'd be at a kiddie event, and that was not the case. There weren't no kids, but I just feel like there's more kids at Horror Nights, which feels like the exact opposite of the way it should be.
ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, but neither here nor there. Um, I mean, I thought as a light Potterhead, I've read the books, seen the movies, but I don't, I've only read the books once. I've only seen the movies once. I did feel like this is really Harry Potter. Is magical creatures I recognized from the stories. They tied in a lot of spells that I couldn't know all of them, but the ones that I did remember is that this is a real spell from the universe. A good
Yes.
discussion of Hogwarts. They talked about Hagrid a few times, talking about
Hagrid.
your Hogwarts house. So it felt very tied into the Harry Potter universe. So I do think for a real Potterhead, I think you would be quite pleased with it.
Oh yeah, you'll they definitely like go into the universe and you'll definitely feel like, oh yeah, this is Harry Potter universe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So for this, I would say also like an 80% me for me, which for me is that's a good grade. Again, it sounds a little harsh like a B minus, but it's for me a B minus for this kind of thing is pretty good. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. I would have liked it if they had done the full more interactive version. Um, but for what it was, good experience.
I would say for me personally, B plus.
Okay, that's fair too. I think that's in the zone. I would
Yeah.
say it's a step below a must do, right?
Yeah.
But it is very good, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And honestly, my score would have been lower had we been in general admission though.
Yeah, I do think that is something to note that I think a 70, 90-minute wait for this is too much.
No, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any ride I would ever wait 90 minutes for, even at, the Disney rides, a roller coaster ride, the new Fast and Furious ride. I that is too much wait for me. I cannot do it.
Yeah.
But those were all of the experiences that we got to do. But that was not all the experiences that they had. Also, extremely popular this year. I've only seen clips of it. I've yet to watch the full thing. Is the One Piece show and the Waterworld Theater, but people are raving about this show. So I would say if you are, and I was disappointed we didn't get to see it because just as a fan of stunt shows, I like a good stunt show, and this was supposed to be better than the Purge show that we kind of detest now, and it doesn't have the same terrible plot problems. What I've seen, they do a good job of having very creative effects. I've seen an effect where the Luffy character does, I guess, what he calls the gum gum balloon to deflect bullets. I've seen one where the kind of samurai character is using his sword to deflect a Gatling gun, which is really cool. So they do a lot of different effects. The characters are very well realized. It's the same actors who do the meet and greet, I think. And they're doing, they embody those characters very well. The costumes are very well done, very bright. Um, I don't have too much to say about it because we didn't get to do it other than I think if you are a One Piece fan, this seems like a must do for that fandom based on the turnout it's been getting.
Yeah.
The line for this stretches all the way back to the main street and then some.
It was
So very
wild.
hard to do if you don't line up early, but I think for the fans, it's been a tremendous hit. So just if this is something that you were on the fence, you're like, well, is it good or is it not? I would say consider it good and you should go. Also, we didn't get to do because it was only a meet and greet, and the line for this was also crazy, was the Sailor Moon meet and greet. There was also a Sailor Moon show that is coming out in Hollywood first, even though it is for Universal Japan. So again, it's in Japanese and it's dubbed. It's a Sailor Moon little short. But what really got more attention in the short is the meet and greet. I think it's the first time they've ever done a Sailor Moon meet and greet in the United States.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
I will say the actress. Now I've also read that they only had one costume was all they could either budget for, or all that they were allowed to use from the Sailor Moon rights holders. But it looks great. It looks like Sailor Moon walked off the anime. They really nailed it. The actress is doing a great job. And from the clip, and she's been really the hit of FanFest. I'd say even more than the One Piece is drawing the biggest lines, but what's going the most viral has been the Sailor Moon actress, partially because she's dressed as Sailor Moon, but also because she's really done a great job embodying kind of that anime attitude where it feels like you're talking to, well, the videos, it feels like they're talking to an anime character and just her mannerisms and what she's saying and really a great job. So if you are a big anime fan, I think anime got the biggest investment out of everything this year in terms of new and expansion. And I think those are also the fans that are the happiest. So if you are an anime fan, you're really into Saber Moon, you're really into One Piece, or you're really into both, I would say this actually, though, that would be the group I would say you should. This might be a must do for your group. I would say if you're here for the gaming or the fantasy or the sci-fi, I wouldn't put this in the must do level. I think we'll start talking about that now, unless you have more to say about One Piece and Sailor Moon. Do you?
No, not only did we not get to see their shows, their attractions, we also didn't get to see their foods because the One Piece food line was also humongous.
Let's talk about. I mean, we saw Sailor Moon. We just walked past her, so I feel like I saw that the same way I saw the Yoshis.
Oh,
And so I saw it
yeah.
with my own eyes enough to test that they did a good job with the look of it. Let's talk about the food. So the food options. Last year we gave a very negative review for the food, and that was a very earned negative review because we had not a good experience with the food. This year, I would say our experience was limited, but better. So we did the 3 broomsticks, which had special items for FanFest. Actually, I think we got almost all of the exclusive items that we could.
Yeah.
Um, and
Except
I
for
think
the
we all
flight of
enjoyed that. It
desserts.
was good.
Yeah.
It's my recommendation. My recommendation is if you want to eat FanFest food, go to the 3 broomsticks. I had the Sunday roast. You had the fish
Fish
and
and
chips with the
chips.
mushy peas. Our friend got the curry chicken. So
Mhm.
classic English fare. Well done. I mean, 3 broomsticks is probably the best food on a day-to-day basis in the park as well. So that wasn't a big surprise. We touched upon it in Scooby, but just in general, the waits for food are out of control. Potter wasn't too bad. It was a short line, but I still felt like it was 30 to 40 minutes from the time we got in line to the time that we actually sat down to eat. Was that about right?
Yeah, because if you remember, several groups of people that came after us just ended up leaving.
Yeah. We got a line. The line was not that long. It didn't stretch all the way even back to the door when we got in the line, but it moved very slowly. And then it took a long time to get your food. And we actually thought we had enough time to eat and then go see the One Piece show.
Mhm.
And by the time we sat down to eat, the One Piece show had already began, and we were just too hungry to stick it
Yeah.
out.
The one My one complaint about the Harry Potter food though was that in the picture, your Sunday roast looks so humongous, and then when
Yeah,
I saw it in person, I was like, "Huh?"
that was true for the curry chicken as well. It looked bigger in the pictures. I mean, the pictures are never accurate for theme park. I was actually impressed with the fish and chips. Looked quite a bit like the pictures, and they didn't look super soggy. I expected those to be soggier, but they actually looked like they were a little crispy. They
They were
weren't going
they
to flop
were
around.
solid. They were pretty solid. The fish and chips were solid. Honestly, the most bang for your buck was probably the fish and chips because yours was the most expensive.
It was. It was good
It
though, other than the pudding. The pudding, which is so it's English pudding, so it's supposed to be more like a very soft bread. It was like hardtack from the Civil War, where I took the plastic fork to scoop it a little bit, and the fork bent, and I was like, "Uh-oh." I took the knife, tried to cut it, and the knife was gonna snap. I was like, I don't think I should eat this."
Yeah, it looked like you needed to, like, break it.
Yeah, but it's not what an English pudding is supposed to be.
Yeah, no,
Um,
for
so I
mines,
was
the fish and chips were actually pretty good. The fish wasn't too mushy. The
It
chips
wasn't
were well done.
cod, which would be a proper English fish and chips. It was probably tilapia, we said, which is more California,
Yeah, I
but
mean, we
not
we are in
bad.
California, so
Yeah. And they do have malt vinegar packets if you wanna do it the English way.
I had some of it with malt vinegar. I did not like malt
Oh,
vinegar,
but
though.
it's good. If you put some Tabasco in there too, it's really good.
Yeah.
Um, Anyways, outside of the Potter food, we touched on the Scooby food already. There was Jurassic Park food at the Jurassic Cafe. There's also Mario food at the Toadstool Cafe. We didn't get a chance to do that. I was disappointed. There's a Raptor Bites stand in the Jurassic Park Fan-Zone, and I thought I could get some Raptor Bites there to try them. They weren't selling Raptor Bites at the Raptor Bites stand. I'm not sure what was up with that. That seems like a faux pas. They were selling only little ice creams. So that was a bit of a miss. And the biggest food has been, again, the One Piece food has been just selling out. Um, that's another one where if you want to get the One Piece food, I thought the Scooby line was bad for food. The One Piece line, I mean, forget about it. I've read hour to 90 minutes consistently all night. So if you are really prioritizing the One Piece food, you honestly should come hungry, get in line right away, because that's going to be the shortest line of the night is right away. It's only going to get longer. The food we're not going to wait an hour for One Piece food. It is Asian this time. It is more Asian themed than last year, where it was just Mexican food.
Yeah, it was like
Um,
tacos.
yeah, this year it's a seafood platter and katsu and
So it was like ceviche.
like Salisbury steak. So it
Yeah.
has more of an Asian flair to it. And again, people are saying, I just to be a mailman for you, it's gotten good reviews. It's been well received by the fans. It was well received last year as well, so I guess that's not too surprising. Food is kind of a bigger deal in One Piece, from what I know. One of the main characters is a chef, so it's supposed to be you're eating his food, which is it's a fun tie-in. And but yeah, just the line for that is brutal. Just the same way the line for the Scooby snack. So I would have loved to get a Scooby snack, but again, you're going to be factoring in, I'm going to be in line for a long time to
You
get
know
this
what's
done.
you know what's crazy? Since Mario Land has opened, I've never been able to eat a toadstool because there's always a constant line there.
We could have eaten at Toadstool this time, but I think this might be a nice segue to talk about just operations and time pressure. Because you might have picked up in the course of this review, there's been a few times that said, well, we wanted to do this, we would have liked to do this, we had planned to do that, and we didn't get to do everything
Everything.
we wanted. And any of the little side stuff I wanted to do definitely didn't get done. And that's because we felt just such a time crunch the whole time we were there. And I feel like it was a justified time crunch because, again, not everything we wanted to do got done.
Yeah, especially because we really didn't enter the park until like 8 p.m. after security and then the park doors open.
hmm
And
Which, to be fair, is partially our fault. Like if you really prioritize, you can get in closer to 7:30, which is the event start time. But Horror Nights starts at 6. It doesn't start at 7:30. So they've already lost half an hour there. The event ends at 1:30. Horror Night ends at 2. So it's 2 hours total shorter than Horror Nights already.
well, that's because in Horror Nights, the day ends, the sun sets sooner. Here, they were trying to
That's
go with
that you've made that
sunset.
excuse. I don't understand why that's an excuse.
Well, the Raptor show would not have worked that great
Horror Nights
had
is
the
always the
sun.
sun still up when it starts, when they do the opening ceremony, and that's a horror event.
Yeah, but the Raptor show,
They do
it
the Raptor
needed
show during
it,
the day, just with
it
only one
needed to be
Raptor.
dark. It needed to be dark for the lights
I
to be
don't.
great.
I would rather be able to do all of the things and have some of them be in the daytime.
Man.
Early access starts at 6. So my note for anyone who's thinking of attending, and we'll get into it, but a top line, my note is early access is not recommended, it's a requirement. I would honestly say if you want to do more than just one or two things, do not buy a ticket without also buying early access. You need that extra hour. I mean, because
That
I've
might be
never
us
felt,
next year.
I've never felt the time pressure at Horror Nights. Like we have, even when we would go back in, 2018, earlier, 2017, 2016, with general admission, waiting in the lines, I still never felt time pressure like I have felt at FanFest both years. And this year was worse than the year before.
Last year wasn't so bad. This
There
year
were
was just
so
worse.
many it felt like hidden wait times where you think I have the express pass, I can do everything because I can bypass the waits. But that's not true because you go to Dungeons and Dragons, you get in front of the line. It's then about 20 minutes until they let the next group that you're in actually go into the event. So there's a hidden wait time there. You go to Scooby-Doo, we talked about it at length, but there's a hidden almost an hour wait time at Scooby-Doo.
To
Crazy.
leave. Yeah.
You go to order any food, even if the line looks short, there's a hidden wait time. Just everywhere you go, th- there's waits, and it's and things, instead of just closing the park at 1:30, it's like a staggered closing where certain things, Mario Kart closes at like 10:30, and then the whole Mario Land. So if you want to do Yoshi, you have to do that early. But by the way, Forbidden Journey closes at 11:15, but oh no, the last One Piece show is at 11:45. And also the last train for Scooby-Doo also leaves at 11:45. So it's not like the whole event is even open until 1:30. It's really only open until around midnight, and then you get a slimmed down version of the event.
And then at that point, everyone's clogging whatever's left.
Exactly. And like you can feel it when the One Piece show lets out. And suddenly those guests are unleashed back into the park, and suddenly everything gets slammed for a little bit. And it's not
Mhm.
Horror Nights doesn't have the same problem. Horror Nights has the Harry Potter ride closes early, Mario Kart closes early, but all of the main attract other than Terror Tram, which is fair, everything else stays open. So I can understand you're going to close the backlot early, fine. I think for this event, they really need to try to keep the Forbidden Journey and the Mario Kart ride open. They're both indoor rides. I don't understand why there would be a noise problem for that. And they need to have more showtimes for One Piece. As one of the main draws for the event, 3 showtimes is not enough.
No, especially considering that everything is so packed that you have to
Yeah.
wait.
When you look at the demand, I think it's because they're trying to use the same actors for the stunt show and for the meet and greet. So they're trying to divide time between the meet and greet and the stunt show. But just don't do that. Have a meet and greet actor group or have 2 actor groups and have them swap so you can have both going at the same time.
I mean, that's
Um,
essentially what happened with Scooby-Doo. The people at the reveal were not the
right,
same
it's a different
Scooby
cast.
Gang. Yeah.
And no one cares.
No, I cared for no, I won't say anything else.
Alright.
Um, yeah.
But you could just there's a lot like that, and I think it all just stems from I mean, the way part of the reason the food is coming out so slowly is because the kitchens are clearly staffed at
Slammed.
a level that cannot meet the demand in a timely manner. Just staffing in general feels like it's low. So you could really feel the budget was lower this year than last year. And I don't think that is good. I think it is gonna my fear that this was gonna be a failed event and FanFest was just going to go away. I'm not really that worried about that anymore. I think it was a lot less crowded than Horror Nights, I'll say that much. I'm not sure if it was more or less crowded than last year. The lines were worse, but it felt like the walkways weren't as crowded, but that might be because everyone was in the lines. Um,
Mm.
but I don't think it doesn't feel like this year is a total bomb. I don't think it's been as successful as last night, but it doesn't feel like a total bomb. But I think especially, I mean, look at the one thing that they invested more into than last year has been the anime stuff, where they got Sailor Moon feels like an upgrade to the Jujutsu Kaisen show. Has a meet and greet now. And One Piece getting a whole stunt show is an obvious upgrade to it getting just
Meet and
just the
greet.
meet and greet. And that has been the biggest response, has been people coming to do the One Piece show or to do the Sailor Moon meet and greet. And we saw this at Horror Nights too last year. If you invest the money to activate these fandoms, people will come out, but you have to spend the money first to make the money. If they just keep trying to slim down and slim down and slim down, and just let the operations degrade, it would be a shame because the creative team behind this, I think, made a lot of smart decisions this year and put together some really fun experiences. And it's a shame to have to talk about lines because we want to talk about the actual experiences that are creative and fun and interesting that people are coming out for, but it has to be considered within the totality of the event, which unfortunately does include an operations side that is not up to the same standard that the creative side is performing at.
Definitely. For everything else, they just had they opened a little earlier or closed a
That
little
will
later.
go a long ways. I
Yeah.
think, honestly, I mean, I know they do it because it makes them more cash, but I would rather just slap every ticket cost another $20, but everyone gets early access. I think that would be better.
If everyone does early access at this point, just have the park open at 6.
The tickets already, I feel like they are competitively priced. I don't think it's an expensive ticket, especially for dinner. I mean, even for the express tickets, even compared to Hornets, I don't feel like this is a very expensive ticket for what you're getting. So
Well,
I
we pay
think
what?
they could raise the price and use that to staff up more and
At
fix
least
some of
for
these
the
operational problems.
kitchens.
They feel like fixable problems.
The kitchens definitely need to be improved in terms of how many
Oh
people
yeah.
can be working.
And that was a problem last year. Remember waiting for the
Yeah.
Star Trek food last year? It was a nightmare.
That was insane. I hated that, but that was last year's episode.
Yeah. You
Um,
can go listen to that. And then the food was bad. At least this year the food
uh,
was good.
uh,
Yeah.
so upgrades, yeah.
Yeah, they're on their way. Again, but that's again the creative team behind the food improved, but the team who actually decides we're gonna give these many people, permission to work overtime and work at FanFest to staff the kitchen, they understaffed.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, but
And they
yeah.
understaffed the trams. I mean, that was a huge thing. It should have had just have more trams running, period. Have
Okay,
more groups in the Forbidden Force at a time.
I think I
Um,
know why the trams were so slow to some degree. Um, for the other trams, we got off in an open space that was very wide, so like two or three trams in a row could line up. Versus on Little Italy, only one tram fits to get in. So
maybe.
so that's
But it
what I'm
wasn't a
thinking.
conga line of tramps. Once a
Oh,
tram
yeah, that's
left, there was a
true.
there was a decent chunk of time before the next one showed up.
That is true, that is true. You got me
At
there.
Horror Nights, it's just always a new
Boom,
tram
boom,
is there.
boom, boom, boom. Yeah,
Yep.
you're right.
So that's what I would call the ugly. I wouldn't really say there was a lot that I was bad. You think of this the good, the bad, the ugly. I think there was the experiences themselves impressed me. They were good. They surprised me in good ways. Even the repeat, I thought I still enjoyed it. Um, the
Oh, the Dungeons& and
interactivity that they
Dragons?
tried to introduce, I thought really great idea. For the most part, really well executed. Uh, I and the bad, I don't know. No experience itself felt like this was a bad experience, and I regret doing it. It's just the operations around the experience, I consider that the ugly because it's boring, but it has such an impact on your night. So
Yeah, I think the ugly was just the lines
as we
for,
wrap up, trying to keep this one under 90 minutes, who would you say should go to FanFest? Who should not go to FanFest?
who should and should not go. Okay, let's
Mhm,
see. Who should go to FanFest? Definitely if you're a One Piece or Sailor Moon fan.
mhm.
Anime
I
fans to
agree.
the front of the line,
I agree.
definitely. If you're an
I think
anime
you
fan,
get
yeah.
I think we've seen that. I think they've responded the most out of all these fandoms,
Mhm.
based on just wait times for events and excitement and social media response. I think anime fans are excited and engaged to the point where there's been speculation that next year they might just do anime nights, which I think would be a mistake, but I think we'll save talking about next year for another episode.
Well, they might switch it up between FanFest and a different day will be at anime nights. Maybe,
Yeah,
hopefully.
they might try to double dip like that.
Yeah,
I
separate the
would not go
2.
to anime fest. It's not my thing.
You will go. I will make you go. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't go
Mm-mm.
either.
You can go with me
Uh,
too.
uh, who should not go? Um,
Well, I would say there's also a middle group of people
yeah,
of
I don't think anyone shouldn't go. I feel like this is good enough for everyone,
I
especially
will
if you
say
grew
if
up.
you went because you really liked the interactive theater of Back to the Future, they've moved away from that. It doesn't feel quite the same as you're just watching the show. It's more like a big open air interactive escape room with characters, which for my book is kind of actually cooler, even if kind of artistically it's not quite the same. Um, if you're a big Scooby fan, if you're a big Harry Potter fan, if you're a big Dungeons and Dragons fan, and it's not quite at the level of Horror Nights where I think it's a must attend for a horror fan in the area. I think if you're looking for something to do, it's within your budget and critically, and you can get the early access. So you can do some of these events before the park opens. You have more time then to do the rest of it. I think you should go. I think overall it's a good event. Again, The fact that the flaws are more on operations, not even execution of the events, just on execution of running the event, makes me optimistic also going forward because I think there's a strong creative team behind this event that's just trying to find solutions. I think that we just need to have Universal realize this could be a big moneymaker if we turn the dial up. So let's hope next year that dial gets turned up and some of these issues get solved because I think the creative instincts behind them are strong. And not only are strong, but we're seeing them evolve from year one to year two. We've seen this evolution in terms of let's bring the guests more into our experiences, make them more interactive. And I'm excited to see what they do for that in year three, hopefully with a few more experiences and some more fresh IP. You talked about this while we were still there, that part of the reason Horror Nights feels better is because the crowd is spread out to 8 or 9 different attractions.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, they're very concentrated in 3 or 4 attractions. So the lines within each attraction becomes brutal.
Yeah. And there's no like side stuff to do. Like in Horror Nights, you have the scare zone, so you can waste some time there, quote unquote, and do a little more of crowd control because people want to see like Baby Crow. People would wait. They would stop to take pictures. They would stop to watch the show. They would stop to watch blah blah blah. Versus here, there's nothing like that.
Other than Jurassic World, but that's kind of
Jurassic
World is kind of tucked away. You have to really kind of know where you're going to get there.
Oh yes, but also it's like there was nothing else really that was like a time waster in a sense. Like there's nothing between Harry Potter World to Simpsons Land where before there was like several scare zones in between, you know?
It would help if the roller coaster was open because I think that would be a big draw. People would be doing that on. It would have a big weight itself. Unfortunately, it's not open yet. I think also just part of it also was because it was a self-fulfilling prophecy because the lines were so long. You felt so much time pressure. You didn't have time. You didn't feel like you could do any side activities. Like we had plans to do almost all the rides, and we only did one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, if we were we of even doing like the Mummy, Transformers, all the daytime rides, and we're like, no,
we had been planning on it, and before we even made it to the upper lot, I was like, we're like an hour behind schedule already. We need to just go to Scoob right now.
Yeah, we were like, no, we cannot.
Yeah.
We quickly realized, oh, we can't do daytime rides anymore because we will not make it to everything. And even then, we still didn't make it to everything.
Yeah. And we were really trying to.
Yeah.
So, but I do think it's a good event, and I am excited about what next year's FanFest will hold. And I feel more confident now than I did a month ago that there will be a next year. I'll be disappointed if it goes away because I think they're on to something here. They haven't quite let all the pieces fall into place. But I think with a few more years of learning and investment, I think they could have a really amazing Horror Nights level event. Not quite there yet. Still a fun event this year. I would recommend most people in the area to go. That's my final word.
Yeah, it's still a little rough. They're still trying to polish out the rough edges. And we'll see. And maybe in like year 4, it'll be much better.
Year 4 or 5, it'll be really amazing.
I still foresee
next year. I mean, okay, let's save next year. I'm about to launch a whole conversation next year. I think maybe we'll see if we can get it done. Maybe we'll do another episode this month about what to do next year, how to fix FanFest, something like that. But I think we'll be back next month. Is going to be May, and that's going to be really getting back into Horror Night season. That's exciting. I mean, I'm such a Halloween nerd. I'm already as the spring comes around, it's a little bit of a mirror of fall weather. I start thinking, Halloween's coming.
Well, it's halfway
start watching
Halloween
horror
now.
movies. So I'm excited next month to get back into the horror nerd spirit. But until then, from all of us to all of you, stay fantastic. Thank you for listening to this production of the Hollywood Horror Nerds. We know you have many options for your listening entertainment, and we're glad you chose us. Find us on Instagram at Hollywood Horror Nerds, on X at HW Horror Nerds, and on YouTube at Hollywood Horror Nerds. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on Spotify,
Apple Podcasts, or your favorite alternative podcast site to ensure you don't miss next month's episode. And until then, stay scared out there.